everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com, back again with some more lovely wrestling news. We've got news from all over the place, very exciting pieces of news, very intriguing pieces of news, but it's not the only news today, so check out Tom's video earlier on the channel if you want to have a little look at that. Also, listen to Tom's news podcast because he talked to somebody who was there for the Thunderdome experience, which was, of course, tested last night. But now we've got other news to talk about, so let's have a look at those lovely headlines. First of all, the original plans for a SmackDown team have been revealed before they were cancelled. Next up, we take a look at WWE's updated pay-per-view schedule for the rest of this year. And finally, a member of Retribution has possibly been revealed. So first of all, let's talk about the original plans for this particular SmackDown tag team, and it's none other than the Forgotten Sons. I forgot about them. That's right, the Forgotten Sons were apparently set to win the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, at least according to Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio, but after a certain incident, those plans were nixed. They had been feuding with the New Day, who were champions at the time, and then they were kind of replaced in the feud. The heels then suddenly were Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura, who obviously faced the New Day in that recent tables match. And the incident which caused the sudden switcheroo, the sudden cancellation of the push of the Forgotten Sons, was to do with their third member, Jackson Riker, who tweeted in June his support for Donald Trump, which was during a time when the Black Lives Matter movement was really at the forefront of the news after the whole George Floyd murder, and it just seemed very ill-timed and very inflammatory, I think it's fair to say, of Jackson Riker to do that. And not everybody voiced their opinion. Kevin Owens did tweet publicly. I think a few others did as well. But apparently he just had a lot of heat in the locker room for this, and understandably so. Apparently a lot of superstars were fuming at Jackson Riker, and especially because at the end of this tweet he included his wrestling catchphrase as well. So it seemed like a bit of an attempt to try and get himself over at the expense of a very serious real-world situation. Now, Steve Cutler and Wesley Blake, the other two members of the Forgotten Sons, they immediately distanced themselves from Jackson Riker's words, but unfortunately it didn't save them because their push was cancelled and they did not become SmackDown Tag Team Champions. You have to feel for Blake and Cutler there because it's nothing they did, and they were the real victims of it because Riker, yeah, he was a member of their team, but they were the two guys putting in a shift in the ring all of the time, and they were the ones who got their push cancelled because of his tweet. And not just that, but the stable has not been seen on WWE TV since then. Since that incident, they've just not been seen. So we'll see what happens with them in the future. And yeah, hopefully for Cutler and Blake's sake, things get a little bit back on track soon. Next up, let's take a look at the updated pay-per-view schedule for WWE in 2020. I say pay-per-view schedule, Network Specials schedule. You know what I mean. So in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, which came out today, it said that WWE will likely do 3 pay-per-view shows from the location, from the Amway Arena, from the Thunderdome in Orlando, Florida, with confirmed dates being obviously SummerSlam this weekend on the 23rd, Payback, the following weekend on the 30th, and a Clash of Champions pay-per-view on September 27th as well. But it doesn't stop there. It's then noted that the rest of the pay-per-view schedule comes after the end of the Amway Center contract, which ends apparently on the 30th of October, but it can be renewed based on the state of the world and the ability of touring acts and sports teams to run arena events with fans. So if that is the case, this is when those shows are likely to happen. If it's not the case, I guess they'll try and find somewhere else to do it. And those shows for the rest of the year are the first of the American date system is really screwing with me here. So the 1st of November for Hell in a Cell, the 22nd of November for Survivor Series, and the 20th of December for TLC. Nothing too out of the ordinary there. It does seem as though these are WWE's standard pay-per-views around this sort of time. Obviously Survivor Series, the latest, the last big 4 of the calendar year, and also TLC, which always seems to come around in December. Hell in a Cell is usually October, I think, but November the 1st, what's the real difference there, I suppose? But, it doesn't mean that these shows are going to be sort of standard shows that we expect from WWE. That is because, each show so far, each major pay-per-view or network special or whatever since the lockdown has really had something distinctive about it, for better or for worse, whether it be, the horror show at Extreme Rules with eyes being pulled out and people drowning in lakes and stuff, or whether it be the greatest match ever, Edge and Randy Orton, who did put on a very good match in all fairness. So we'll see what those shows are like, and I'm weirdly more interested for the shows like Payback and Clash of the Champions than I am for ones with a defined stipulation like Survivor Series or Hell in a Cell or TLC, because I want to see how on earth WWE make these shows stand out. Yeah, I guess Clash of Champions has the whole every title belt is on the line kind of thing, but Payback next week, how is that going to distance itself from the other pay-per-views we've seen around this time? Next up, shock horror, a WWE star has praised an AEW star on social media. Liv Morgan has gone on Twitter and said something very kind about an AEW star, and it's hopefully not going to ruffle any feathers. I mean, I thought it was nice of her to do that. Let's see what she said. Her tweet was in response to a tweet made by Abaddon, the scary gothic's a bit of an understatement, the scary hellspawn lady in AEW, who's appeared on Dark a little bit, but also appeared on the main Dynamite show as well, squashing Anna Jay in like a minute or so, and just looking really terrifying in the process. She took part in AEW Dark this week, defeating Red Velvet in just a few minutes, and tweeted feeding time to promote her appearance on the show with a picture of herself. And then Liv Morgan replied saying, "You're so cool." Now this may seem a little bit strange, I guess, because Liv Morgan obviously, the last we really saw of her, well, she's back with... Right, okay, what's happened with her so far? Her character's a bit inconsistent, which you cannot say about Abaddon. Liv's been recently reunited with Ruby Riott. She was, of course, in that strange romance angle with Lana that just did not go anywhere and appeared to be a very ill-fated attempt at shock value. She was also in the Riot Squad before that, and generally hasn't been able to really pin down what she is, through no fault of her own. So you might be thinking, well, it's strange that Liv Morgan thinks that this absolute nightmare hell creature is so cool. But I don't think so, because Liv has always tried to incorporate just a hint of unhinged or crazy behavior into her characters, hasn't she? Even in the Riot Squad, she was kind of the crazy one. Sarah Logan was the bruiser, Ruby Riott was the leader, and Liv was kind of the wild card, the unpredictable one. She'd come out sticking her tongue out and, well, I mean, that doesn't sound that crazy now that I've said it out loud, but you know what I mean if you've watched her in action. So very interesting stuff there, and I liked it. I liked the support being shown between WWE and AEW stars, and long may it continue. Good job, Liv. Good example set. And, you know, maybe you'll tag with her in the future. Who knows what can happen. Next up, news that has been met with a bit of a mixed reaction. Some people have been criticising it, some people have been very pleased and relieved to hear this, but fans are set to return to AEW tapings. AEW announced on Thursday, just yesterday, that it'll begin selling limited amounts of tickets to its Dynamite tapings, beginning with next week's show, not this week's show, which is of course taking place on Saturday. Dynamite will still be held in Daly's Place in Jacksonville, and limited seating will constitute 10 to 15% of the 5,500 seat venue, which is about 550 to 750 fans reportedly. However, it's also pointed out here that the August 27th episode will actually be at 10% capacity, and then it'll expand to 15% down the line if things go well. I'll just read some of the rules. In order to comply with the federal and state guidelines, tickets will be physically distanced and sold in clusters of 2, 3, 4, and 6 around the venue. Is that a typo, or is 5, you can't be yourself and 4 friends? That's ridiculous. Fans will be required to wear masks and must distance from those who are not in their group. Temperature checks will be done on site. Fans showing symptoms or those who have been in contact with someone that will be asked not to attend. Sorry for the weird ending of that last take there. My printout has gone a bit streaky. The printer's on its last legs, it seems, or the cartridges anyway, so a bit of a behind the scenes there. So yes, fans are returning to AEW a little bit more and more. It seems like they're introducing more and more people back to their shows, but at the same time it has attracted criticism, and it would be remiss of me not to mention this, because Florida obviously has quite a high rate of COVID activity. So we'll see how it goes, I suppose. We'll see how it goes. It's weird when wrestling becomes political, isn't it? But it's one of those things that sometimes just cannot be avoided. And finally, according to Dave Meltzer on the Wrestling Observer Radio, one of the members of Retribution has been revealed by Davey M himself. He said who it is, but I don't think he means in terms of if they eventually reveal who the members of Retribution are in kayfabe. I think he means physically who one of the people in the the mask and the getup is. Because Meltzer was talking about Jessie Kamea, who lost to Dakota Kai on this week's edition of NXT. He said I don't know why he's included this detail, but fair enough. She's a Division 1 volleyball player. Great athlete. The thing with her, she's one of Retribution actually, and then he just left it there. So I don't know if he means she's going to end up being one of them if they reveal who they are, but I'd hazard a guess and say that he actually means she's one of Retribution physically as we see them running round in the ring and stuff. Jessie Kamea signed with WWE in 2017 and has basically primarily competed at house shows since then as Jessie Elaban, but she was repackaged in June 2019 and started appearing regularly on WWE TV in April of this year in squash matches on NXT and Main Event. Several different wrestlers have played Retribution members so far, but rumour has it is that the final lineup has not been revealed yet, so stay tuned for that. And stay tuned for more content from us on the Cultaholic YouTube channel. Thanks very much for watching. I have been Jack, of course. Leave your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Stay safe out there, stay positive, and I'll see you very soon.